Welcome back to Sunrise today. Well, let's focus a little more on the rescheduled elections in Edo State, the governorship elections. Babajide Ogunsowo, Channels Data and Information Analyst, joins us now. Thank you for coming on today. Well, about these elections, looking at it, I mean, yes, there are indeed different perspectives. Does it have any implication in terms of cost, and how much does it?
Yes, it does, but let's look at how interesting things have been. Now, the Edo election is planned for another 18 days. But just 18 days ago, there was a report in the Guardian newspaper, precisely page 3, and here's what the report said. The heading was, INEC Chair, an extra day of elections costs INEC 8 million naira. Now, I think the INEC's chair mathematics is correct. However, I wish the report had stated that an extra day of election cost Nigeria 8 million naira. Because here's what it means. If we're looking at an additional 18 days, that's approximately 144 million naira. That will pay the minimum wage of 8,000 Nigerians. If the Nigerian president chose to even stay in power for 10 years, that will pay all his annual salary and basic allowances. That's what the elections cost. But even more than the financial cost of this election, there's another cost of great importance. Nelson Mandela talked about this cost. Franklin Roosevelt campaigned about this cost. And even Mohandas Karamchand, popularly known as Gandhi, talked about this cost. What is this cost? It is the cost of fear. Now you will ask, how do we calculate the cost of fear? And the easiest way is to look at last year's presidential election and look at what happened in Edo. 1.23 million PVCs were collected, but only 500,451 valid votes, equivalent of only a 40.67% voter turnout. Now that is the lowest in the South region. There was only one state among all the 19 states in northern Nigeria that had a lower voter turnout than Edo State, and that's Borno State. Now let's connect all of the dots. Here's what it means. With an extremely low voter turnout, it means that the minority of the people are the ones who are determining who will govern the majority. And if that continues to happen, it leads to unrest.
When you say minority, it doesn't mean that those are the electorate, is it?
Those are the electorates. So when you have fewer electorates determining who becomes the governor of the majority, then it clearly means perhaps that's not...
But that's a trend we've seen in some parts of the country.
But that's a trend. But what then happens is it leads to a lot of agitation. It leads to a lot of unrest.
I think was it about 200,000 people that voted at that time?
Exactly. So what INEC and the Nigerian police need to do is to do all it takes for us to increase voter turnout. But such decisions, by delaying the elections, reduces voter turnout, and in the long term leads to even potential more violence. But let's even look at what the Nigerian police have said. And the easiest way to understand this is, let's look at all the states that are surrounding Edo State and look at the borders. There are only four states. And if we clearly look at what is going on, it perhaps will give us an understanding of maybe why Nigerian police has taken that decision. We've got only Ondo, Kogi, Anambra, and Delta bordering Edo. So here's what it means. There are only 3 reasons why the Nigerian police could have postponed this election. The first is there were concerns in Edo State. The second is there were concerns around Edo State coming from either Ondo, Kogi, Anambra, and Delta. Now the third reason, which I'm hoping isn't likely, is it was all false and there were no concerns. So let's take away that and let's look at the 2 other concerns. Concerns in Edo and concerns outside Edo. Well, here's the interesting thing. Edo State is in Zone 5 of the Nigerian Police Command, and there are only 3 states in that zone: Edo, Delta, and Bayelsa. Now, from this, you can clearly see there is no way you can get into Edo State from Bayelsa. So it takes out Bayelsa out of that potential trouble zone. So the only other states that potentially the police is pointing to is Delta State.
And they said they made some arrests of people who are reported to have come from Delta State into Edo for their elections, and I think governor said they were charging them to court or something.
Yes, but 2 weeks ago, the governor had clearly said Edo was the safest state in Nigeria. But the police could have been more proactive than reactive to all of this, because even the last official report that the police released that looked at criminals within this region, that 2013 report, very detailed, it clearly showed there were only 2 states that had prison inmates of greater than 2,000, Edo and Delta. So what it means is the decisions of today should have been seen yesterday. The police had all the information to know and identify the trouble zones.
Because if I look at this map you have brought up now, don't forget that at the height of the insurgents, we saw some kind of attempt, kind of incursion into Edo from the Kogi axis that was repelled by the DSS and the police at that point in time. So they already know that these are some of the possible routes some of the troublemakers could use to come to Edo State. You know, looking at this, Zone 5 perhaps, it's quite strange to see that it doesn't comprise some states that can easily be linked to some other states. If you say it's just Edo Delta and we travel far off into Bayelsa, I don't know the rationale behind these zones by the police. Maybe the IG should also rejig or have a rethink on the composition of that.
Exactly, Solomon. And it allows us to clearly see that decisions need to be more proactive, especially when we have all the facts. So going forward, the police and the DSS need to interrogate a lot of the information they have. It allows us to avoid such delays, because we've seen...
Sorry, again, look at another strange thing here. Another state that will be going into the elections very soon is even the neighboring state of Ondo. Yeah. Perhaps they should also be looking in that direction as shown on this map.
Because in November, interesting things will start happening in Ondo. So we have all the information to act and be more proactive. But the evidence today shows we failed to be proactive. So the change of date for the elections isn't just having financial implications. It's telling a lot about how we make decisions.
I mean, speaking about how it tells on our pockets and decisions, the reason why many file out to go vote is to improve their lot. But you know, you still have one key index which bothers a lot of people: the unemployment rate. The figures out there, I think they talk about, how is it 13-point-something% now lately, but it's not looking good, is it?
It's not looking good. If we look at, even if we look at it from the Fourth Republic, inflation rates between 1999 and when President Buhari took over, you clearly see where the problems come from. Now, if you hold this static for a moment, you see between 1999 to 2006, 2007, we were struggling to keep it stable. But from 2007, we can see where the problem started. From when President Obasanjo, who attempted to keep it at a stable level, from when that first change of baton took place, we've been struggling with inflation. Now, you think it's moving from 8.2% in 1999 to 32.6%. That was the rate when the president took over. But this isn't just a 24% difference. It is a 297% increase in real inflation rate. And what it means is it's getting tougher for people to find jobs. Even if we look at the performance of each president, looking at the next slide, where we look at how it was when President Buhari first came into power.
Okay, what we'll do is we'll take a quick break, but we'll then return and look at the following slides concerning what you just spoke about. That will be in a moment. Join us again.